I think warranty is an interesting part as well, and increasing warranties, especially when you buy a car.
And the
And I think
electronics.
at the moment, you know, some of the luxury cars like BMW had only 2 years, they have now 3 years. Most cars have now in Australia 3 years, overseas
But
it's
if
often
you look
less.
at Japanese cars, they have 7 years, and Korean
Yeah,
cars.
Korean car, Hyundai,
Yeah.
and no, Hyundai is 5,
Honda
Kia
is Honda
7,
yeah.
and Mitsubishi 10.
10, yeah.
So there's the only one. Interesting thing, when I was buying my daughter a new car, I thought it's lovely getting her Mitsubishi Eclipse, and that had a set 10-year warranty because I wanted her to have a long year. We were going to buy the car. The car drove actually nice, had all the features which she wanted. Didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. She liked the VW, which I didn't. Didn't think was as good. So she ended up actually buying a Skoda Karoq.
Okay.
And she liked that. I think the Mitsubishi was as good, the Skoda was more, and it had only a 5-year warranty. I wasn't happy with the purchase because I thought I wanted her to be, you know, without. But, no, don't like it.
Okay.
Don't like the Mitsubishi. And I think part of it was actually the salesperson. You know, the salesperson treated us a little bit. You know, I said, oh, yeah, how much you want to spend? I said, oh, yeah, no more than 30. And the car we looked was 35 or something. And he said to us, you said you only want to spend 30. We actually ended up spending 52 on the Karoq for her, okay? But the attitude of the one, and then we came second time and said, can we look at it again? It's over there. And my husband that was it, you know.
So you didn't feel valued as a customer.
We didn't feel
right?
valued. I mean, it sounds stupid. You know, who cares that the person treats you? You can't afford the car. Can you really afford it? You know. You know, it was.
So that's a classic example of what not to do as a business when it comes to dealing with customers.
And the Skoda guy was very friendly, and what my daughter really liked about the car, it's a European car, so it must be better.
That one again.
It is not. I mean,
for me, if you ask
when you look at the Kia.
If you ask me, Japanese car, I would go for Japanese car any day, or Korean cars any day, instead of, just because they're easier to maintain. Like if you compare
and the cost
the service and the cost of maintenance. But anyway, so just to wrap up our discussion on products. So yes, the product concept is still very, very important. It still holds true even in today's dynamic environment. But branding, like I know that you are always a brand person, so you do have a little bit of inclination towards brand, and I completely, so from today's discussion, I'm sure the students have understood that like branding still plays a pivotal role, even in a extremely competitive market. You need to find your foothold. So we talk about Kmart or Skoda or whatever business.
And Japanese brands have actually done that. You
absolutely.
know, the i30 and other cars. Mitsubishi is doing that. I think in 2 years' time, you know, it will be a different situation. Agree totally.
Absolutely. And as you guys can see that all the examples Petra have talked about, it focuses on one core aspect. That is what is like how they are trying to create different experience and provide different value for the customers. And that's what differentiation is all about. They're trying to offer differentiated service or differentiated product through the means of their product itself. If it is not possible to differentiate through product, in that case you differentiate in the as a brand, isn't it? So that's I think that's very important. Now second P, so we talked about product, I guess. So just very short discussion about the pricing tactics and strategies. So I have discussed with my students in terms of pricing that there are two core pricing strategies. One is obviously premium pricing strategies where you compete in the higher market segment, and then there is price penetration strategy where you offer price at a cheaper price to penetrate the market and obviously then develop a perception of value. And then we see retailers that use a lot of other price adjustment strategies, psychological pricing and discounting and promotion, etc. But what is your take in pricing? Like as a marketers, how do we decide on pricing? Like whether we should target the higher end of the market if you're a new business and trying to find your foothold?
I think if I would know that, I would have retired long time, 25 years ago, to an island. I think getting price-wise is so important. When you think price is another issue with price is also discounting. When you go, I mean, Maya is suffering from sales and left, right and centers. When I started, sales were twice a year. Now there's constantly sales. You know, that is a real problem, how you actually cycle the sales.
Absolutely.
How much do you give up? 10%? Don't get out of bed. 20%? Then we had the big 50 and 70%. With 50 and 70% you can't survive. You need to be able actually to sell some stuff at full price. So I think we have seen in the car industry a really change to pricing as well. You know, when we came in, wanted to buy the car for my daughter, that was quite interesting because I was used, you know, you drive hard bargain and they fall to your feet and beg you to buy their car. It wasn't like that at all. Nobody was going to give on a new car a discount, even, you know, second-hand one. There was no really negotiation because we had the hail before.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was nothing there.
Factors, yeah.
And I think in our thing, because we were looking at some cars as well, one of the cars, not for my daughter, I think the best pricing policy has actually Porsche. You know, it's literally like an Audi on steroids when you look at the Macan. So it is in the VW stable, but the service is just outstanding and interesting too. We nearly bought one, and I said, "Oh, you know, do you throw a pair of mats in, door mats, you know, foot mats?" I said, "No, they're $450. Fine." That really put me off the car. I think one of the other things is how they actually price their accessories. If you want the leather clad, it's about 2,000, and the color. You know, when you buy a Macan, now it's only 7,000 for a red Macan, and before it was 11,000 extra for a red one. The car is about 105,000. But 11,000, so white you can get for free for the 105. But if you want red, it's 11,000, and any other color is between 2.5 and 3. And I said to the guy, why is, because being a marketer, I asked him, why is red 11,000? And he said, well, we don't want so many red cars. We, you know, because in 911 that was red. So we want to keep the red ones as really exclusive. That's why we price it. And interesting
That's
too, with all the accessory, I asked him too, what is the thing, you know, do people actually buy all the extra? I said, yes, our usual customers buys every option. So they add 20,000-30,000 extra to the car. So I think when you look at pricing, how you actually bundle it together.
Yes,
you want a car who has,
right?
for example, the blind spot. You can't get the blind spot. My husband, we actually didn't buy the Porsche. We bought an Audi, Audi Q5, and one thing my husband actually was interested was the matrix lights. He just wanted the matrix light, but you couldn't get just the matrix lights. You could only get the matrix light with an upgraded sound system. We're not big music listeners when we travel, and it has already your blast system in there. So why pay 2,000 for, which is maybe worth 1,000, which we didn't really want?
Do you think, like, when it comes to the pricing though, like moving away from the automotive industry, just even in the general retail industry, are we seeing too much price-based competition and
we
compared
do.
To?
I think if you look at price, everything else is forgotten. And the department stores like David Jones and Myers fell into that trap. Because, it's now really, I find it difficult. I go in there, want to buy a fry pan, and I'm used there's 40% off, and I have the only day in the year, the only week where I pay full price. I feel stupid.
Absolutely.
It's the same when I go into a jewelry store, Prouds or Michael Hill. Michael Hill, I think, has stopped the price competition a little bit, but Goldmark and those ones, they have been actually taken up by the competition authority because of misleading pricing. And usually, I think there's every week there is a special spring offer, Mother's Day, you name it. And I think once I wanted to buy for a niece a little, trinket. And there was one day when it was not on special. Everything was full price.
Yes.
It was a one day in a year opportunity. So I think it is a problem. You need to make things, you need to sell things at full price.
And this is such a paradox, because you look at any marketing text, they would say that, okay, no, don't get into price-based competition. It's all about the value and communicate that value to the customers. But when you get to the real life, start competing with hundreds of other competitors, all of a sudden you find yourself that, hang on a second, I am in a completely different territory, and I have to get into price-based competition. So
and online before, if you wanted to buy, say, a heater, you go to Harvey Norman, you go to Myers, you go to walk, pay parking. Now you go online, click, and you have price comparison of any heater, 10 heaters, which is the cheapest. So how can you say, oh, mine is so much better? So only thing is if you have heaters which are then not discounted. I think you need to have an add-on, but I think we are in a pretty, because of the transparency of pricing.
Absolutely. I think the transparency of pricing actually changes the dynamic completely when it comes to the pricing tactics. Even if you just look at brands such as Apple and Samsung, they're trying to have everything, like they're trying to target every single market segment rather than only a certain market segment. So
and I think Apple was one when I was first here, people had an Apple because it was expensive and it was like prestige product, but suddenly the cleaning lady had an Apple phone as well, so that was lost a little bit. I think Samsung has made quite a bit of inroad and interesting also through technology, flip phones and those type of things they have introduced. It will be interesting how Oppo and those other Chinese and Taiwanese brands will be going, because they're good phones, but when I ask my students, I like to ask yours, would you consider an Oppo phone when you look at the features?
No, most of them would say no, because what I see I see a very strong brand loyalty towards Apple among the students here. I think it's not based on social class or income level anymore. It's about the functionality. So I think Apple have moved away from being a premium product, rather than basically they try to attract that mass market segment. Okay, that's great. So we talked about product a little bit. We talked about core product concepts. So obviously, as you can tell, and as you know, that this is one of the most important concepts when it comes to marketing. And then we talked about the pricing tactics to a little extent. Now moving towards the third elements of the P, placement or distribution, whatever we call it. Now we see that, like before, most of the organization, they used to have that indirect distribution channels. So there were wholesalers and there are intermediaries, and then you sell, the intermediaries sell their product to the customers. By the way, Woolworth and Coles and all these businesses are intermediaries. But now internet obviously changed the game. So a lot of the businesses have actually sort of eliminated their middlemen or intermediaries and selling directly to the customers. So do you think the distribution has changed the games for the intermediaries? It's not profitable to be intermediary anymore, or it's businesses?
Well, I think some of the intermediaries, like Coles, for example, they have also created their own brands, and
Yeah.
Woolworths own. So they still the intermediary, but they actually own the brand. So you can buy David Jones has done that too. Actually, not so successfully. So it's a David Jones whatever shoes or pants or top. You can only buy in David Jones. You can't buy it in Meyer, while the Country Road, which is quite interesting. The Country Road you can buy in Country Road stores, and you can buy it in Myers, and you can buy it in David Jones. So I sometimes think, why would you have that? But I think the idea is you have, in any store you go, you will see a Country Road. If you go in a department store, walk through a shopping center, you can get the Country Road.
Definitely.
So I think being a retailer is becoming more difficult. The question is, will department store actually exist in the future? The question is, will shopping center exist? Parking, or do people just buy things online?
It's interesting. A lot of research recently says that the customers still want to go to shopping. They're just not just for the experience and the time, and just for the family time. So there are a lot of other factors that comes into play when you go into a shopping center.
And in shopping centers, there's food.
Yes,
coffee. You don't go there necessarily. You want to get a coffee in the coffee club or wherever, and you walk past the Blue Illusion and you see the new blue dress there, and you must have it. You didn't go there. So I think we like to be tempted.
On a rainy day in Canberra, when there is nothing to do, nowhere to go, where else would you go?
And you save on your heating, air conditioning.
And just go to a shopping center with kids and end up buying a toy from Target or whatever it is for your kids.
And there's music, a band playing, and a dancing group. I think it's a social interaction. I think there are two types of people. Among my friends, I have people, my own husband, we are shoppers. We love shopping. I don't think I need anything. I enjoy the experience.
Absolutely. And I think there are a lot of people like you.
But I have some friends who would prefer never ever in their whole life going into a shop again.
Okay, yeah.
My husband even enjoys grocery shopping. I have friends who haven't set foot in a Woolworths for years and get everything delivered. I can't. It's not me. You need to be very organized.